So, hi, I'm Michal Feix. I'm from Czech Republic. I'm CEO of Seznam.cz, which is largest internet media company in Czech Republic. I'm very proud that Seznam is one of the or the Czech Republic is one of the four countries in the world where Google is not the number one player on the internet search market. There are just four countries in the world right now. One of them is Czech Republic, second one is Yandex, Russia, and North Korea and China for obvious political reasons. So that's Seznam. My vision of 2020, very simple. I strongly believe that in 2020 the internet will be still a free media. That's the only vision I have, because it's the most important thing that we should have on our minds. We are speaking about tons of restrictions, legislative regulations that are in front of us regarding cookies, regarding security of personal information. We are speaking about restrictions, EU versus United States versus rest of the world. And I believe that what we have to think about all the time is that the internet is, and I believe will be, a free medium only if we will very strictly keep the amount of regulation on a very low level. That's one of the most important things that we should focus on. If we keep the amount of regulations above that level, then internet will die in maybe next 5, 10, 15 years, because no one will be able to compete on the internet. There will be so much regulations and differences between countries that it will be almost impossible to do a functional business or spread your startups across the internet.
Do you think that there are useful legislations or regulations also? Because you mentioned partly, that privacy or other things are a little bit complicated to deal with. So should we leave everything just to develop, or should we concentrate on this topic or not? Do you see something useful as well?
We need certain amount of regulations in place, definitely. But this amount of regulation has to be very low. We need to define a very basics, which is actually enforceable. Everything else, what is not enforceable on the internet easily, should not be a part of the regulation. I think a good example might be China. China is good and bad when you look at the way how they treat the internet. Of course, it's wrong if we keep the level of censorship in that level that the China has it, obviously. On the other hand, the lack of certain rules and the lack of respect to certain rules helps, in paradox, helps to rise the economy of China. Of course, because you don't have to respect tons of rules, tons of restrictions, and you can keep your focus on the business you are doing. This, on the other hand, is very good, and very good for every economy in the world. If we create tons of rules and restrictions in the European Union, in the United States, everywhere else in the world, we will just make our life harder to work on the internet, to create businesses. Of course, the China, on the other hand, can be taken as a bad example. Definitely the censorship and certain other rules which are in effect in China are, on the other hand, a bad example for what the internet should be.
And do you think that having the right conversations early enough can help to avoid certain unnecessary regulations and somehow still lead us to a direction where we all want to be?
I believe the discussion is a very important part, because that's the most functional thing that you can find in the democracy system. Nothing else we have in our hands. Discussion, and convincing people what is good and what is wrong. On the other hand, I believe that what we need is a generation shift. There are people who are driving the wheel of the European Union who are 40, 50 years old. Their experience with internet is completely different to people who are 20, who are 25, who are 18 right now. The internet for them is completely different thing than to those who part with.
You can continue.
Yeah. The most important part is the generation shift. That's what I believe. When the younger people will become on the leading part of the European Union, the leaders who will decide what the real future of the internet will be, what will be the rules that we will have to accept. I think this is the moment where we will very easily make the internet really free media in the future. Right now, it's very obvious that it's the experience of making rules, which was working in the offline world since the beginnings, which are now being taken into the online world. And this strong belief that it will work somehow. If we make tons of regulations on the online as well as we are used in the offline world, then it will make the online a better place. This is wrong, and it's okay to hear that from someone who has the experience from the offline from tens of years, obviously. Maybe after 10, 20 years, when the generation shift will happen, we're there.
And what would be then your solution? I mean, if not regulation?
Regulate less. It's the only solution. Just get rid of tons of the rules that we already have, and that will make the life on the internet for the users, for the businesses, much more easier. The problem of many politicians is that they see the solutions. Their expectation to solve anything is to make another rule. That's the often expectation how to solve problems. And I say, okay, let's reverse the process. Let's say we need to delete some of the rules we already have to make the internet more functional, more usable, more innovative into the future. Not making more rules, more rules, more rules. That's the wrong way.
And it would be more like focusing on a purpose or the use, or like collaborating freely and then they see what comes out, or what would be instead of having, I mean, what is the alternative to the rules? Because sometimes we sense that something is needed, but what is the alternative?
I think if we really sense that something is needed, then we should make that rule. But it's the matter of deadline. If we are really sure that we need another rule, or we just think that the rule should be made because we have made tons of rules in the past, so why not to make another rule because we feel it might be necessary. I think this is something that we should more focus on. We should say, okay, the internet is a different part of our life. It's not the offline world, it's online, it's global. There is no such thing like a European unique one market. There's no such thing on the internet. Internet is global. There is no border around the European Union. The border is the whole world. So making rules that strict somehow the things on the internet in the European Union won't work. There is only one way how to really restrict things on the internet, and it's the censorship. Unfortunately, it's the censorship. And I believe no one who uses the internet for many years would agree that we want to censorship the internet. This is the wrong way. Some of the European countries, like France, have in the past tried to think this way, that okay, we have tried many rules, we have problems with enforcing them, so let's try to censorship certain things on the internet because that's the only way how to solve problems. I believe this is wrong. This is wrong.
Thank you, and also for giving a concrete example. That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.